Hello everyone, this is Matthew here. For this video, I'll be discussing about the Tok Exhibition. Before I begin, let me give you a brief introduction in the difference between the old and the new Tok syllabus. The current syllabus came into effect in 2020. For the Tok essay, the difference is, whereas the old syllabus required students to formulate a knowledge question, the new syllabus does not. The second component, which is the Tok internal assessment, in the old syllabus, the oral presentation was replaced by now the Tok exhibition. To the best of my knowledge, the exhibition is much easier to handle compared to the oral presentation that required students to master content like second order claim and second order knowledge question. What is the purpose of the exhibition? Why did the new syllabus put emphasis on students handling this particular area in whereby an object like this Mansai necklace can be used as an object for a Tok exhibition? The main purpose of the exhibition was to bring the abstract Tok concept out of the classroom to the outside world. It was meant to show the relationship between Tok concepts and the real world. Take an example. This Mansai necklace represents a certain knowledge base. It has a certain value to the Mansai people, to the Mansai culture. The Mansai are a traditional indigenous culture found in Kenya. The other reason was to give students a chance to demonstrate how Tok concepts are applicable in the real world. Now, the Tok exhibition comprises 33% of the total mark, while the Tok essay comprises 67%. The exhibition has 35 prompts. And out of these 35 prompts, the student is supposed to choose one of them to use for the exhibition. For an example, if I look at prompt number 21, which states, what is the relationship between knowledge and culture? So take an example here. This Mansai necklace has a certain knowledge in it, in that for a maiden, for a lady to wear this bracelet, it means they must have gone through certain cultural traditional rites. We can actually say there is a relationship between knowledge and culture. The foundation of knowledge comes from the interaction, first of all at a personal level, and then secondly at a shared level. Various cultures have their own richness of knowledge, which eventually is shared all over the world. The first thing a student has to do is to select the object. The selection of the object is extremely important because that will form the basis upon which the student is going to link the object and the Tok prompt. And as I said before, the Tok prompt, you can choose one from the 35 prompts that have been provided by IBO. And those 35 prompts will last the longevity of the syllabus. Take an example. A student has chosen this Mansai necklace as their object. The student will choose prompt number 21 on the relationship between knowledge and culture. It's very important that when choosing the object, to reflect on the personal interests of the student and the voice of the student. Why did you decide to choose this Maasai necklace? What relationship does it have to you? This necklace has a strong world focus because it belongs to a certain culture. Therefore, it is very important and imperative that when selecting your object, it must have a real world context. And the most important thing you need to ask yourself, does the exhibition successfully show how Tok manifests in the real world? Does this necklace, if you link it to prompt 21, does it show the relationship between those abstract Tok concepts and the real world? So the real world is actually this Maasai necklace. After you've done that, there are certain questions or issues that you need to ask yourself. The first thing you need to ask yourself is, does the object have a real world context? The object must have existed in a particular time and place. So this Maasai necklace did exist in a particular time and place. It belongs to the Maasai people. It represents a certain cultural base. The other point that should be noted, the object must have relevance. It must hold certain significance or importance. This object has a lot of relevance. It has a lot of significance and importance. It is worn by the Maasai women who have recently been married. So when they put it on, when the married women walk around the community, it signifies that they have been married. So this object has a relevance and this object has a significance. A very important point to note, your object should not be generic. Don't pick any object online. For example, you cannot use an image of any football or tennis racket. It must be a particular ball. Take an example. A ball that's going to be used in the 2023 World Cup. Or if it's a racket, it must be a racket you own. Or take an example. It could be a racket belonging to Serena Williams, which she used in her first tournament. So let me make it very clear. You cannot select anything randomly. Take an example, this cap. You cannot just go and get any cap, any image of a cap online. It must be a cap that maybe you use every day to have your drink. And it has a certain relevance. It has a certain significance to you. One way of testing whether your object is unique, if the object chosen can be replaced by a similar object, then it is generic. Take an example. If this cap, I got it online, the image, and I can replace this image with another cap in a different website, then my object is generic. If my object is this Maasai necklace, then it cannot be replaced by any random necklace. No. Because you can see it is unique, the way it is made, it has a certain relevance. Therefore, it is important that to test and verify whether your object has a real world context, whether your object is significant, you must ascertain that it cannot be replaced by another similar object. The next part that a student should note is that there should be a clear relationship established between the object and the prompt. This Maasai necklace as my object, then I can see there's a clear relationship between this object and prompt 21. which states what is the relationship between knowledge and culture. You must ensure that there is a very clear connection between the object you have chosen and the prompt that you have selected from the 35 prompts given by IB. So the first thing you need to do is that, first of all, identify the prompt you want to use. Now, once you've identified the prompt should seek the object. So select the prompt from the 35, then that prompt is going to seek the object. And then after that, ask yourself these questions. Why have I selected this particular prompt? What contribution does the object make in understanding the prompt? How successful does the object help in discussing the prompt? Remember what we said, for whatever object you select, it must have real-world relevance. IB has provided an extremely wide variety of different types of objects that are suitable for use in a Tok exhibition. Students are encouraged to select objects that have personal relevance or that link to the area of personal interest. Take an example. If I am a musician or I like playing football, maybe I'll select a prompt and an object that is related to the field of my interest. The object can be solid, can be tangible, like this necklace. The object can be an image or a photo. The object can be a newspaper caption. It can be a tweet. It can be any electronic image that has relevant information to your prompt. IB has given a wide latitude from where you can select your prompt. A student can use their own created objects, but it should have been created earlier. A student cannot create an object ostensibly for the purpose of the exhibition. No, that is not allowed. What is really important for this task is that the student selects objects that have a specific real-world context. And that is part of the marking criteria. If you look at the Tok exhibition marking criteria, the first part there, does the object have a specific real-world context? Therefore, it's very important to take this into consideration. Real-world context, and the object must have existed in a particular time and place. For example, a photograph of a student's childhood teddy bear is an object that has a specific real-world context. Whereas a generic image of a teddy bear from the internet search is not. The object you're seeing right now has a real-world context. It is a tweet from Donald Trump, the former president of the USA. And the tweet is talking about the concept of global warming. And you can see there what the tweet is saying. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make US manufacturing non-competitive. This object is a tweet by Trump and has a real-world context, has a real-world significance. It has information delivered at a certain time and place. It is relevant because it's from the president of the United States of America. This object can be linked to any of the 35 prompts. And from there, you can actually develop now your argument. For example, this tweet is very relevant when it talks about the prompt that talks about the challenges faced by the dissemination of knowledge. I hope it has been very clear that When you are selecting the object, it must have a real world relevance, and it must establish a very strong link between that object and the prompt. Let me look at the marking criteria, the Tok Exhibition marking criteria level 5. What does it say? As you can see there on the screen, it states like this: the exhibition clearly identifies 3 objects and the real world context. So you see the object here, the Mansai necklace, has a real world context. Links between each of the 3 objects and the selected internal assessment prompt are clearly made and well explained. So you make sure that this Mansai necklace is well linked and clearly linked to prompt 21. The other point is that there is a strong justification of the particular contribution that each individual object make to the exhibition. So if you're going to select 3 objects, let's say I've taken this Mansai necklace and I have my cup here that I drink my tea from, then you must ensure that they have a very strong link to the prompt that you've chosen. Lastly, all or nearly all of the points are well supported by appropriate evidence and explicit reference to the selected internal assessment prompt. I want you to start thinking that this is the object I've selected. This is the prompt that I have also chosen. Can I be able to meet the level 5 criteria? Look at your work and see whether it has these indicators. 1, real world context. So as we said, the real world context is the time and place where the object exists and could refer to where and when the candidate first saw or held the object, or where it is to be found, and if pertinent, its moment in time. Contextualizing includes what matters according to your own interpretation, for the reader, the examiner, to be able to situate the object to the prompt. The other point to note is that ensure that links are well explained. Show how the object illuminates aspects of the prompt. Justification is another point. Justification refers to the explanation given regarding how the object and the prompt are connected and what it is about the object that makes one think about the prompt. Evidence is required, how the points are supported. Evidence can be of different types, such as the candidate's own experience, their studies, or other personal experiences. It could be clearly constructed arguments, or a student can use evidence from external sources. Take an example. If, let's say, I'm going to use this Mansai necklace and I'm going to link it to prompt 21 about what is the relationship between knowledge and culture, I can give evidence externally from an anthropologist who has done an extensive study on the Mansai culture, and I can quote that particular anthropologist and use it to support my argument. As you can see the image there, it is a plan that a student can use to organize on how they are going to argue in relationship to the exhibition by showing how the links between the prompt and the objects are established. It follows the marking criteria. The object has a real world context. What links are there to the prompt? Yeah, if there's a strong justification, and lastly, the evidence that is provided to support that strong justification. To end my video, the Tok Exhibition is actually much easier to handle compared to the previous syllabus, in which a student had to, come up with a topic, be able to understand first order claim, second order claim, first order knowledge question, second order knowledge question. The Tok Exhibition is different from the Tok essay. In the Tok essay, there is analysis and evaluation. In the Tok Exhibition, you don't need to analyze and evaluate. You need to just establish that there is a strong link between the object and the prompt, and you give evidence. Yeah, and make sure when you're giving evidence, the evidence mostly must come from the object. The best practice is to ensure that in each of your paragraphs, an element of the prompt is identified, and that will ensure that you sustain the prompt throughout your argument.
The use of objects with different perspectives in the Tok Exhibition is very vital, since there's no analysis and evaluation. For example, let's use prompt number 21. What is the relationship between knowledge and culture? If your first object is the Maasai necklace, then your second object should be Galileo's first telescope, and the third object can be an Aboriginal Australian boomerang. The boomerang was a unique hunting object that could be thrown, and it would oscillate back to the owner. You can see from this selection that each of the objects chosen represent different perspectives and will help explain the prompt, providing a strong justification for their selection and relevance to the prompt. The first object will represent the perspective of cultural aesthetic values, the necklace. The second object will show how science is linked to the cultural intellectual awakening of Galileo's time. The geocentric versus heliocentric theories were a robust intellectual discussion on whether the Earth was flat or spherical. The third object will give the perspectives of indigenous knowledge system and science. A student will score low marks if all the objects were about science or just about art. Different perspectives help provide that essence of a strong justification and why the objects are relevant to the prompt. Since different perspectives capture different nuances, they fortify the explanation of a strong linkage between the object and the prompt.
Thank you so much. That is the end of my presentation, and I hope it will help you to write an excellent exhibition and to ensure that it earns you the top mark. Bye-bye. See you next time.